the act of slow living. So it have been like somehow a trend that everyone nowadays shift into slow living. At least creators, YouTube creators, they are creating these contents that are more of slow living. They have maybe their piece of land where they have their chickens, they have their vegetables that they're growing. It's an eco village maybe or stuff like that. And it kept me wondering, like, is this something that everyone can do? I mean, it takes a lot for people to really manage all this, right? It mostly maybe requires you to have a farm, at least, like a huge land. Not so huge, but at least maybe a lot, where you can place your animals, you can design your garden, and really have this slow pace of life, as you see on the internet, as portrayed on the internet. It also reminded me of why I see a lot of people from America or Canada or let's say European countries like maybe Germany leaving their homes and going to third world countries and looking to buy, for example, huge lands and live this slow pace of life. So all these things that I thought of, actually it was this morning when I thought of this stuff, and I thought like I want to share it with people and have a conversation with people about it. I am from Tanzania, and in Tanzania I somehow can relate with this kind of trend right now, because this is how people live there. This is how people are taking life there is very slow, especially like in the villages. It's very slower than the cities, because now in the cities there are so many development, and this huge building and cities have grown so huge, and everything is fast, and not as fast as maybe it is in Europe or America or Canada or whatsoever, but it's somehow fast in the city more than in the villages. I have an uncle, for example, my uncle, he is a guy who builds houses. He's not an engineer per se, but from village, there are people who can build houses without even having a degree of engineering, and they can really build a stunning house, of course. I know with my uncle, sometimes he gets maybe a gig, and he works maybe for a month or two for a gig, and he doesn't look for another gig or try to look for another gig. He just uses the money he has to live the next life, like the next days that are coming, without having to worry like I have to have a lot, like he could just wake up in the morning, go to his farm, take some milk from the cows. He has some cows. He takes some milk from the cows. He goes maybe to the lake. He finds some fish. He buys some fish, and that's it. That's the life. He doesn't think so much of being there up. He just thinks of living and not worrying or working a lot. So I think this is the way it has been there in Tanzania. At least I have been raised in this space that you don't really have to have a lot. The only thing that you have to do is just enjoy what you have, and yeah, that's life. But now it's called slow living, and the idea behind slow living is more of anti-capitalist thing, and it brings people into this way of life where you just think like, I enjoy things. I do things that I like to do. I'm not having a push of I have to be a girl boss. Like I have to have 10 companies. I have to have this and this. I have to work like a donkey. I don't have to work like a donkey for people who are up there. I don't have to work 9 to 5 job. I can just work 3 hours and 3 hours a day and just do socializing stuff. What I believe is that people really have to have 3 places. They have to have their work life, they have to have their home, and they also have to have a place where they socialize, to call it a slow life. So I'm trying to show you, or to explain to you, what I think about slow living. I think slow living is not, yes, as so many people say that not everyone can afford slow living. At least you have to live maybe in Europe and come to a third world country with your money and buy land and build everything that you couldn't manage to do in Europe. Or there are so many Black Americans also deciding to go back to Africa because they already earned, and they just go to Africa and just live the slow life while they have money and they can really live the next years without having to worry, right? So it's not for everyone. It's this is what is portrayed there, that it's not for everyone. And the people who are portraying this, they are actually not, somehow kind of not living the slow life, because they are still doing the works that, like the things that if I thought of slow living, I would just not do them. For example, most of these people are recording their lives. They are on the internet. They are posting every day, right? It could be that maybe they're working 3 hours, but the way I know creating and everything, it's not as easy as it sounds. So what really is portrayed on the internet is not really slow life, but at least it's bringing people, like, at least it's a movement that there's some people who have to go out there and show people, like, hey, live this way. This is the way of now. We should shift this way. And it works when we all together have the same thinking, like, we have to live this way. I don't know if I really, like, I don't know if you really understand what I'm saying, but what I believe being a slow living is a life where you require to balance your life. You do not necessarily have to have 10 companies to really manage or reach to that point that you're living a slow life. You do not have to hustle maybe 1/3 of your life or three quarter of your life to just have that quarter of your life living slow life, that which is retirement, which is called retirement. So I think you have to just know what is really enjoyable to you, and I think you have to also have the ability to balance between life, work, and social life. I now think, like, it's not coming into my mind while I'm speaking or I'm saying these things, that when I say people really require 3 places. They require work, they require home, and they require a place where they socialize and really do the art and nice things that they like. I remember that in Tanzania, especially the elder people, they have these places where they actually meet, maybe for coffee. I remember my grandpa usually always during the evening when he moved to the city, he always wanted to find someone who sells coffee, and he sits there, and there are these small stuff that are called kashata. I don't know in English, but in Swahili it's kashata, and he bought kashata maybe for some of the guys who are also around there, working around there, and they all sat together and they talked. I was sometimes joining him, and yeah, like this kind of socializing, or going for a walk to a football pitch where people are playing football and interacting, because in Tanzania we don't have parks, so sometimes they go to, maybe there is like a football area where people somehow meet and talk and have some coffee. Some of them have some coffee, or there are even elderly places, but mostly in Tanzania it's more like a political space, like maybe you are CCM, like it's a political party, and many people sometimes go there and just sit, and maybe some have some local beer or some have some coffee. These are the things that maybe makes life more enjoyable. Or if I look it into the woman's side of you, we have this thing that women sit together, maybe women who are living in streets, they just sit together maybe in one woman's veranda, and they just talk and gossip. And if you have one of the women who can plait hair, maybe they plait your hair while you gossip. And yeah, things like this that make life enjoyable and simple, and not like we are like chasing something. We're just chasing things that are really not easy to achieve. So instead of chasing things that are not really easy to achieve without a lot of stress, I understand that you can be girly boss, you can be a girl boss, your own boss, and have a lot of things, but these are things that you take so much time, so much stress. You're depressed. Most of the time you're depressed, and they are not very easy to achieve, like achieving or living just your life. It's so easy to implement your slow living, although you are really like into a 9-to-5 job. It could just be like decreasing your screen time and just doing things that are really requiring your presence, like going for a walk or something. Just implementing it slowly into your general life routine. I think this is the way that slow living could work. If it's not an option for you, you could just, if it's not an option for you, because I understand that there are some people who really require to work and pay for their bills, but there's so many options. You could just move to Africa and just have your place, a small tiny place, build your heart, and just live life. Like, life is so nice. I don't think like I'm really into slow living. I think I didn't really catch up with the movement, and if I do, probably I will just be among just like other creators who just record and think that, oh, I'm living slow life. But I think it's something nice as it is portrayed on the internet, and instead of just watching it, you can just implement it. I have some implementations with slow living because I'm naturally a slow liver. I am from a country where Hakuna Matata evolved, so I just don't have worries. I just don't worry that I have to earn millions of money. Like, all I need is just a bed, food, and happiness, and clothes, of course, because we are living in a world where we have to cover ourselves. Like, we are not in Adam and Eve times. So this is just something that I wanted to just talk about it, and it just came into my mind this morning that I was thinking of slow living, and I felt like, wow, it's easy, it looks nice, but not everyone can do it. But how? And there must be a way that people can really do slow living. It doesn't have to be typically all your life, because we still have to catch up with capitalism, you know, like we still have to work the 9 to 5 job, we still have to pay taxes, we still have to do all this. But if slowly everyone starts to implement slow living in their life, I think we would see the world as a better place, with less people who are suffering from mental disorders and depression and everything, because I think it's really hard to catch up with all this stuff, like with all the word stuff. It's too much, it's unbelievable, it's a lot. I actually didn't know how the world is working actually. When I was in I grew up in I have been living in Tanzania for like, now I'm 27, but I have been living in Tanzania since I was 0 years old, 0 month, to 25, I think, to 25. Then I started to travel around. This is when I realized, like, wow, it's crazy how the world works. People are very unrelaxed in many countries. People are just unrelaxed, and they don't have this happiness. I don't see happiness in people's faces, especially because somehow I traveled to some countries in Europe, and it's more like you don't see the happy faces of people. And I'm thinking, like, they have everything. They have nice houses, they have nice food. I love cheese so much. They have nice food. My African people are going to come like, they're going to argue with this, that the food is not nice. But I found that I like cheese so much than I like ugali. Ugali is like from Tanzania, so there's nice things, like proper nice education, nice hospitals, nice everything, and you don't see the happiness in people, because people are just not living. People are not living for themselves. People are not having time to just do things that they like. People don't have time to socialize. You can just, in Tanzania for example, you just walk in the streets and everyone is hello, like, hey, Baba Baby. You can just talk to your neighbor 30 minutes. You don't have to worry that you're running late. You can come out from the house and your bajaji or your taxi driver is waiting, and you can just tell your taxi driver, hey, wait 5 minutes, I need to talk to my neighbor. And you can talk to your neighbor and someone doesn't charge you. But this you cannot do in other countries. So it's like people are really like, this has to be done at this time, this has to be done at this time, and they forget to live their life. I think people should move to Africa. Especially if you just feel like you belong somewhere, you know, like, for example, fellow Africans who are African Americans. I really think, like, you guys are doing the right decision to move to Africa. Like, it's the right decision. I don't remember the name of this woman. It's a woman who moved to Tanzania with her kid, and I really enjoy watching her videos because she really likes Tanzania, and she says the most nice thing that she likes about Tanzania is how things are pole, how things are no worries, hakuna matata, and everything is just as simple as possible. You can just ask for help and get it. She says she sometimes just gets help even without asking, because men, they are just like helping. People are just helpful and nice, and she just feels the slow living, like, kind of vibe, and she likes it there. So I just like to see more and more videos of this. If you're not Black American, or like you're not African American, or you're not an African who is outside, like born outside, maybe in Europe or something, you can also come. I mean, there's so many foreigners who have moved to Africa, and they really liked it. Like, they're just, oh, it's very relaxing and very nice, and which I think this is how life should be. We shouldn't worry so much of how much we have. After all, in the end, we just leave everything in this world, and it doesn't really, if it's something that you like and it's not stressing you out, I think you should just continue doing it. But if it's depressing and making you have sickness, you have to think of yourself. Like, if you have this mental disorders, ADHD and everything, and you think like, oh, my life is ruined, and you're depressed always, you should try to at least change the way you are living slowly, and maybe saving some money to just move out of the situation you typically have at that moment. There's one thing that I also wanted to add up. I forgot. I also wanted to tell people, like, especially the Africans who are just moving out of Africa and going to Europe, or going to America, or going to Canada, or going to, I don't know, any country, just to look for green pastures. You guys will really remember your homes. You will really remember your homes. The amount of depression in the air that is outside there is unbelievable. I know some people don't understand until they are right there, but for you brothers and sisters who are out there, and you know how it is out there, just write down in the comment section and tell me down there, how is it there? Because people don't believe when you tell them until they want to go there. You know, you understand what I mean? I don't know. Like, people don't understand when you warn them. They have to dip their legs and see how deep is that place, like how deep is that place. So people always say, oh no, you say that, I want to go there first and see. It's like at your own risk. You can go. It's complicated. Life is complicated. Yeah, it's just that the slow living is very nice. I just enjoy it. I mean, I haven't fully started, but I think I have been living it so much, and I miss it now because I realize it now. And when I watch all these videos, I think like, wow, there are people looking for something that I somehow almost threw it away. Like, what is living if you cannot do what you like? What is living if you cannot grow your own food and see your own, like, the growth of things that you have created? It can be that you enjoy the capitalism way, but I think the socialism way is the way. Oh, now it sounds like I'm telling people to do to do the slow living life. Just let's socialize, let's meet out there, let's enjoy life, let's make our own farms and plant and just share what we have. Like in Tanzanian villages, you can just, not only in villages, we have this thing like you have a garden, you have a tree, right? Even if it's in the city, you have a lot of bananas. Even if the neighbor didn't ask you for the banana, you just give them the banana. Just share with your neighbor. They have a farm. Maybe they're living in the city. They go to their farm. They have some cassavas. They bring to the city. They share with you the cassava. You have a lot of fish. Your husband is a farmer. You have a lot of fish. You fry your fish. You bring some fish to the other family without them asking. This is the way I know life. You cook rice with beans. Your neighbor maybe cooks rice with spinach. You share spinach. They give you beans. Equal. That's how life should be. No, it's getting too serious. Yeah, so yeah, I think we should consider doing slow living life if it's something that you think that you are you can give up everything to do, because I think it's enjoyable to do things that you really like. After all, life expectancy is like maybe an average of 60 years, and yeah, thinking of this, it's like I already lived half of my life. Like, oh my god. And at least until your mid-20s, like, you are somehow still, your life is somehow under control of people. You're trying to figure out how things are, right? So now it's the time that you can really do a lot of things on your own. My last video was about 27 years old. I was talking about if you are 27 years old and you think like you do not have you have no accomplishments, and if you're also interested in watching it, you can just go and watch it. I just talk a lot about how to deal with it and how to notice your accomplishments, and if you do not have accomplishment, what to do, how to take over your life control. If you're interested in that, you can also go and watch it. But yeah, I think I should end the video here, because if I talk about slow living, I can just say, oh, it's nice. I can just repeat words for 100 times, for 100 times, and still say the same words, because I think it's the best thing that people should do. And I myself, I am trying to just go back where I am, because sometimes you have something that you do not see as it's a nice thing until you lose it. So now I'm just going back, like I'm just thinking like I have to go back to the life I used to have, the slow living life, the life of not worrying about how many millions I have, and just living life. It's the best thing, I think. So yeah, if you're interested in this kind of topics and just chit chats, please click the subscription button and help me to the slow living, because anyway, you need to, somehow it's crazy because you still need to be in the system of capitalism. You still have to work at least to really afford this. Complicated. Okay guys, if you like the video, please like the video, and see you hopefully tomorrow. Ciao.